At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm doing everything I can. Now stop calling me Shirley.
The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
All right, it's Sincerely Unqualified. If you're new with us, welcome. If not, thank you for coming back. Today we are talking a 2011 movie and the sequel. So we got Horrible Bosses. We got Horrible Bosses 2. Mm-hmm. We're going to touch more on Horrible Bosses, the original.
Yeah, it's warranted.
I think I'm going to argue that a little. When we get to the section, I think that I'm going to come to bat more for Horrible Bosses 2 than people would expect, because I think it gets more hate than it deserves. It's not a perfect movie. It's far from it. But
it's a sequel. It's a sequel.
It's a comedy
that's what
sequel.
I'll say. It's a sequel. It's a comedy sequel, and we've seen how those have done so far. It's no Hangover 2, for sure. Definitely no Hangover 2.
Yeah, it's no 22 Jump Street. Speaking of Hangover, by the way, we will be doing The Hangover next week, so get that watch in. We're going to be releasing that.
Not the second one.
No. So also, if you've listened with us before, you know that we don't talk about the sequels. We don't believe that Hangover 2 and 3 exist. Only the first one exists. So we are going to be doing just The Hangover next week. I'm assuming that people would be a little excited about that. That's one of those heavy hitters. You know, that's a big one.
And we like to remain in a perfect world where there were no sequels. So we're going to keep there in our minds. We're doing every Hangover movie next week.
Yeah.
We're doing
every single
all
one.
of them.
Every single one. Every Todd Phillips directed Hangover movie.
Literally every single one. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and then later this episode, we're going to be doing a recommendation. We got a stand-up special out. Winnie, I think, watched it. I actually didn't get the chance to. But
we'll talk about that a little more later. But if you're into stand-ups or anything, we got a couple recommendations coming down the line. I think you'll enjoy.
Absolutely. But before we get into that, we need to let you guys know that support for Sincerely Unqualified is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. You can see Winnie. He's got the Manscaped shirt that we got. He's got the lotion. He's got the spray. He's got the Lawnmower 3.0. So Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. It's a lot of people. You know that they know what they're talking about.
Big sample size.
Sure is. And we have an exclusive offer for our listeners. You get 20% off and free shipping with the code unqualified at manscaped.com. I've been using it. We got a shipment in. Manscaped was kind. We love Manscaped. They sent us some stuff so we could try it out, and I'll let you know. I feel so much better. You paid for peace of mind. You paid for peace of mind and great looking balls.
Look, for sure. And look, this stuff up here, it's props right now, but it's getting a little light. So I'm going to need to restock. I'm going to use unqualified at manscaped.com. We hope that you can do the same. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. But I'm getting a little light on these because I trust them so much.
Well, you've been spraying and lathering your balls every day.
Absolutely.
You're shaving hair that's not even there.
And mowing when necessary, Kevin. Of course.
Oh, of course.
You got to take care of everything down there. You know, there's a lot of murder in this movie. We talk about a lot of everything like that. There's a lot of different things, but the one thing you should not be murdering are your balls. So you want to be safe with those. You want to be careful. Be cautious down there, Manscaped gets the job done.
I think I'd rather be murdered than cut my ball sack. And look, it's not going to be an issue with Manscaped.
I'd rather go through watching Hangover 2 and 3 than use another brand on my nuts.
That's true. Yeah.
It's a little bit it's risky.
It's risky.
Yeah, risky business.
But Manscaped is so nice. You can make me watch Hangover 2 or 3. I'll just be shaving my balls the whole time. Be fantastic.
Absolutely. That's unqualified at manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping. We seriously trust them with the most delicate things in the world. So
absolutely. Yeah. Unlock
Can't
your confidence and
enough.
always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Let us step into this movie. So we're going to talk just Horrible Bosses first. So we're going to do a proper breakdown of it. We're going to then touch on what went right and what went wrong, basically, with Horrible Bosses 2 before we do Inexclusive Exclusives. So we can just give you the overview right now. We'll start out, and we always go tomato score. So tomato score, we got a 69 critic and a 70 audience. I feel like 70 audience for a comedy movie is right where you know it's a good movie.
It's in the sweet spot. It's
That's
just
a sweet
enough
spot.
because you know that it's going to be. So if it's like in the 70s or low 70s, mid 80s, if it's in kind of that sweet spot, you know that there's enough stuff that's maybe a little raunchy or maybe a little distasteful that you have people coming on that hate it.
Yeah,
so you know that there's enough backlash for it to be like risque and be shit in there that's just like, maybe that's not for everybody.
The low to mid 70s are the true comedies, no frills around it. When you even like if you get up to like 80s, 90s, it's probably a really good movie in terms of a casual non-comedy fan. But if you're a comedy fan, a 70 is probably exactly where you want to be.
Absolutely. I think like I don't even know like off the top of my head what comedies are kind of in the 90s.
Well, I think The Nice Guys was around there.
Yeah, I think
it was up there because it's an action comedy.
That was definitely more of a movie too.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
exactly.
So
for like these true comedies, you can be very dissuaded by seeing like a 70, but with these kinds of movies, that's where you want to be. Yeah. That's where we are excited to jump into.
That's the sincerely unqualified sweet spot. So
exactly.
It's directed by Seth Gordon, also written by John Francis Daly, Sam from Freaks and Geeks, amongst others. I believe Michael Markowitz and someone else. And the cast, we all-star cast.
It's insane.
Yeah. Jason Bateman plays Nick Hendricks. Charlie Day plays Dale Arbus. Jason Sudeikis plays Kurt Buckman. Jennifer Aniston plays Dr. Julia Harris. Colin Farrell plays Bobby Pellet. A bad guy plays Dave Harkin. By the way,
noted bad guy.
We understand Kevin Spacey is in this movie. Can't change that. Not a good guy.
Exactly.
Move on. And then, honestly, the biggest notable one, other than that, is Jamie Foxx plays Motherfucker Jones. I'd say that's probably what would draw you into a movie is that cast.
Literally, if somebody put a script in front of you, or they put like one page of a script in front of you and said, you'll see the rest later, but here's who's in it.
Yeah.
And they gave you this list, you're signing the check for that movie 10 times out of 10. There's no question with this cast. Like, there's Oscar winners in there. There's comedy legends in there.
Yes.
I mean, like, they all do a little bit of writing. They all do, like, insane amounts of acting. They all have great chemistry, whether it's together or just in other ensemble pieces. Like, this is something you sign up for no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is definitely an ensemble cast, and the three big ones. The main characters, it is very fair to say, are Jason Bateman, Charlie Day, and Jason Sudeikis. And they play off each other so well.
I know. And we were talking a little bit about this before, but I love that it's Charlie Day. And if you watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's like Charlie Day is the wild card. He is the wild card. Like, when whatever he does, he's the crazy wild card.
Yep.
Jason Sudeikis is kind of that in-between balance guy. Like, he could go either way. He could be goofy. The straight man. Exactly. He's goofy, but he could be like, say, a darker joke, or he could go really light and do something silly. Then there's, Jason Bateman, who's just great at playing that straight, like, witty, dark, kind of just like more low-key humor, not in-your-face stupid stuff.
He's not even quite like deadpan, but I feel like that's the closest you could say he is, just because it's such a dry wit, and there's nothing outlandish about him. But he's comedically fantastic.
It's like there's emotions, but there's such a subtle difference in his emotions where it's just like, like that delivery. You can't really you can't learn that delivery. You can't redo somebody's delivery like that. He's got such a specific way of delivering all of these lines perfectly.
Yeah.
And then there's just, you could study his delivery for for a long time and not do it as well. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's why he's had such a career, because
I think he's had quite,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's a Jason Bateman type for all three of these people, and that's what's funny is they're absolute stars in their own right. But it almost seems like kind of like a ragtag group, or honestly, that actually take it back. It's like an all-star game. Like when you see like people on teams that never played together, it kind of feels like that. They just throw the best of the best, like at their own craft in. Like you got the best guard, you got the best center, because they all do such different things.
That's a great way to look at it too, because it's like,
thank you.
You
sir.
would never see. I give you compliments sometimes. Don't say I never give you props here. But I do think it's great that they're all so different in what they do. I mean, even recently we saw Jason Sudeikis do Ted Lasso, which I mean, down the road we might have to look into because it was such an incredible show. Then we have Charlie Day, who's known for like being crazy on Always Sunny, and Jason Bateman, who's been in everything else. They're so different, and you would never expect before this movie to put those three together and have them make magic.
It's a funny group, but my God, do they work well together in this movie. And then I honestly think that you have them working on a pretty unique story. It's very original. It's sure, everything's slightly derivative, and we're not here to be like, like poke holes. In terms of just the general movie and the general story, I think it's very original, and there are a lot of great bits in there too.
I think so too, and I think it's not reliant on its bits, but they're in there. It's not reliant, they're for sure in there. But I love how they paired it up too, and it's not necessarily like these three are solely working off of each other. It's like there's these other relationships with the secondary characters and the antagonists. Like each person has their own specific antagonist that's assigned to them, and those relationships, it's not like we don't see enough of them. Like we get enough of those to know like, yeah, this is understandable. You're not rooting for these people to be murdered, but you're like, look, I get it. Like they're horrible enough for me like to understand where it's coming from.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of times with movies like this, ensemble casts or maybe a big three, you write for those people, and it's easy to say that these roles were written for the specific people, but it's not like their movie. This is a movie in itself. It's a story in itself that they just got these people to play. And I think that's what makes this movie special, is because it's such a fantastic story, but it's not just to show off them, and it's not just to have them playing around with each other. It's a truly great story that they get to carry out, and it's just
and nobody's stealing the light from each other either. It's not like a contest where Jason Sudeikis came from SNL, and then the other two have had their own comedic background. They've had, I'm sure both of them had hosted SNL at some point and been in that kind of environment. But it's very different from that, like, kind of cutthroat mentality where, like, I need to get more bits than you, or I need to get more jokes than you. It seems like everybody had such a balance throughout, whether it was Sudeikis, Charlie Day, or Jason Bateman. Like, they all kind of divvied up the comedy and did it in a way where it wasn't like one of them's overshining the other, or and one of them's trying to get out ahead. They have improv backgrounds, all three of them, so that when you improvise things well, it's because you make other people look good. So I think that's another thing. If you had three stand-ups in there, it might look a little different than if you had three actors with improv background. They're trying to make the scene the best, not make themselves look good. So it's probably so fun. I did a little bit of acting this past weekend for a short film contest. Shout out the Victory Podcast. We a couple of friends entered a short film in there. Had to be under 3 minutes and everything. Gotta say, acting is a shitload of fun. It's underrated how long the days are, number one, because like we were filming a 3-minute thing and it took forever to get all the angles and shit. Like, it's tough. And now I understand why, like, over and over and over and over again. You want to do different stuff. Like, this is where the improv comes in. It's like when we were all sitting there, the improv is so fun. And once you get in a rhythm, like, and you understand where the other person wants to go with something, here's me talking like I'm a fucking actor. I've been in one little short film.
The man has a minute and 30 screen time. Listen to him.
Yeah, no, literally.
He's a star. I'm going to make you a star.
No,
kid.
but I'm saying now understanding this and seeing like experts do it, it's got to be such fun to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I mean, they perfected it.
They sure did. Do you have anything else you want to say at a non-spoiler level, or?
I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I think we forgot to mention one of the cast members who's been in the news recently. Meghan Markle had a little bit of a role in This Is the FedEx Girl, and I was actually watching with somebody a little bit, and they were like, "Is that Meghan Markle?"
I had no idea.
Honestly, I had never seen anything she'd done before or
me
noticed
neither.
her in anything until recently when all of this news is coming up.
Movie
I'm like,
podcast.
Oh
No
shit,
idea.
it is. Okay, look, I don't think Meghan Markle has been in a ton of things that we would have.
I agreed.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
I know, I had no fucking clue. So I was looking and he's like, "Isn't that Meghan Markle?" I was like, "I guess it is. I mean, where's Harry?" But yeah, that's a cool little thing I saw. I was like, relevant. But other than that, I mean, we can jump into the movie.
Yeah, let's get into this. So the spoiler run through, we'll walk you through it. Keep it nice.
Let's
We'll
do
keep
it.
it short, punch it up.
High and tight. Keep them high and tight.
So we have the intros and we're walking through, basically we get the support right away of their situations and why they hate their bosses. So I think first we have Jason Bateman's character. Let's do character names, by the way.
Okay,
So
interesting. Okay,
it's
Jason
Nick,
Bateman,
right?
who plays Nick.
Yeah,
Who plays
so-
Nick, yes.
Nick starts out and we see that Kevin Spacey's character, Dave Harkin, so his boss, basically is an absolute psychopath, is saying that he was 2 minutes late, shouldn't have been 2 minutes late, and screws him over on a promotion. Very bad guy in the movie.
Noted bad guy.
Very
I
bad
mean,
guy.
it sets it off on a tone immediately where he's like, it's this opening, he shows up to work, he's like, "Oh, I've been getting here before everybody and leaving after everyone." And it's like that grind mentality to get that promotion. You see the clock and immediately, like within the first 2 minutes, the security guard's just like, "Better hurry up." And you're like, "Oh shit. All right, this guy's going to be terrible."
Yeah.
If he's 2 minutes past 6 and he's like, "You better hurry up." I mean, you had the insight like, okay, Kevin Spacey's guy is going to be a menace.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have Dale, which you weren't sure where that was going at first, and it becomes pretty clear he's getting completely sexually harassed by Jennifer Aniston's character, Julia. We'll call it just Julia. So that is just a hostile work environment in terms of a legal sense.
I'd say so. Yeah, like pretty hostile. That's pretty not okay. Like, for sure. Just spraying the water on his pants and going, "I can see something." Think that's really not cool.
Yeah, it's not too cool.
Yeah, understandable.
And then Kurt, Jason Sudeikis' character, is working at a chemical company. He's probably like, a vice president level, we'll say. He's a step below the top guy. And we see that the top guy ends up dying and his son takes over, and his son is a complete cokehead, Bobby.
Yeah.
So Colin Farrell's character.
I will say, like, Donald Sutherland is one of the most likable and noteworthy actors.
Yeah.
The fact that they got him in this for probably like 2 minutes worth of airtime is awesome. I mean, he's in it, and then you see him pulling away, his car crashes, and he dies within the first 30 seconds of airtime.
Yeah, yeah. So the three problems are that, I mean, there's a really bad boss situation in terms of just demanding. We have a sexual harassment thing, and then a incompetent boss takes over.
Yeah, just an absolute power crazy, like, I'm using this as my personal ATM, get out of my way, trim, like, he starts off by saying trim the fat, and then he said, no, literally trim the fat.
I want you to fire the fat people.
Fire the fat people and Professor X. And you were just like, oh God, this guy is...
It's tough.
Get him out of here.
Yeah.
But I mean, you see all, and it's really, I like how, you know, we were talking pre-pod a little bit, and it's very relatable where if you have or have not had a bad boss in your experience, obviously these are hyperbolized to the nth degree.
Yeah.
But if you've had a boss who like you didn't agree with or didn't get along with, it's just like, all right, this is bringing up some stuff, bringing up a little nostalgia from that, just making you rethink. And that's where, I mean, the realness of it comes in, which I loved.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that everyone at least knows someone who has had something similar in either of these three bosses.
Absolutely.
Which is with the one, well, actually, all of them are problematic, but
yeah. So after these intros, we go and we see that they are all really good friends, which we kind of expected, but you know, they meet up at the bar after work. They're all talking about like how horrible their bosses are. And I'm going to count how many times we actually say the title of the movie without realizing it. So
horrible their bosses are. We'll count that.
Yeah, exactly. We'll count that as one. But we find out a couple things. So we find out the problems that they're having that lead to the main, you know, kind of issue that they want to solve. We find out that Jason Bateman is basically trapped in his job.
Yeah.
It's Nick. He's trapped because Harkin is basically like, I own you. I took your promotion away from you. Like, it was a great motivator. You're a little runt. I run your life.
Yeah.
Like, you'll work for me till the day you die. Then we have Charlie or Dale.
Dale.
Dale, who has like illicit photos from the dentist she has on her iPad from him when he was knocked out. So she's got like stuff against him that she'll send to his fiance. And then it's just like they basically start brainstorming like, what can we do to get out of these shitty situations? Like, what is something that we could do? And they're like, well, we could kill them.
Yeah, get a little booze in them.
Yeah, it's a couple beers. They're like, whoa, we could just take care of these people. And they don't really.
Let's call this out right now. That is not a logical conversation anyone would have, but we like it. Yeah, it's a movie. It would be a crappy movie if it wasn't.
Couple beers down the line, you start talking hypotheticals, but I don't know that personally I'd ever get there.
I don't think after 3 beers, I'm like, you know what? Murder could be pretty good right now.
Maybe we'll just like take care of them. Like, no, I think I'm okay on that. But they all kind of come together and realize like they're a little bit into it. Like they're all actually into this idea.
Really bad days the day after, and then I think what happens is Dale has a really bad experience with Julia. She's just so forward, and then he's like, "I'm in. Let's kill this bitch." And they're like, "No, we're not going to do that." And then end up deciding, let's actually look into this.
This is when we get, I think, one of the funniest things that happens in this movie is the scene when they're meeting at the motel and they're kind of like looking for the hitman. They're trying to find a hitman, and they leave it up to Charlie Dale. They leave it up to him, who's we've seen as kind of this manic, like all over the place person. Yeah. He's in the motel. They're all waiting in there. They see this like professional assassin guy coming up.
Black suit, black sunglasses.
Puts down a tarp, like, what's going on? They're like, I'm going to urinate on all of you. And he's like, what? It's like, you searched wet work in men seeking men's section.
We are men seeking a man.
Seeking a man. It's so good. I think that was one of the best like little throw it. I forgot that was a part of it.
Yeah. That's a funny little bit that just needed to be thrown in.
I know. And then this is where like we get introduced to Atmanon or Gregory in the car when they're basically like, all right, take us to the shadiest area of town. And he's like, I don't know what I can do for you there, but you know, I'll take you to the area with the most carjackings.
Yeah. Which is honestly, that's resourceful on his part.
Look, I'm going to say, Gregory, clutch.
Yeah.
Atmanon, clutch.
Big part of the story. We'll get into that later, though.
Yeah. And they go to this bar. Jason Sudeikis, like, I'm sorry, has the most cringeworthy interactions of all time.
Yeah. That was
just-
like a seat gripping thing.
Oh,
So he's
God,
like, I think that we disenfranchise you people. He's like, I'm a small business owner. And
Yeah.
you're just like, oh, no,
and then
don't
he's
say
like,
things
not
like
all, that. He's like, not all African Americans I wasn't talking about. It's just like, oh, man, stop. And then he walks up, and even to the cop later on, it just goes, what's up, my man?
Oh, yeah, he calls them my man.
Every time. It's like, maybe let's not do that.
Yeah.
But they get kicked out before they're gonna die, and because the guy behind the bar has a bat, and he's like, your heart's gonna be in the wrong place in about 5 seconds. And this is where our guy Jamie Foxx comes in as Motherfucker Jones with that story, with his intro story. Why do they call you Motherfucker Jones? Well, my mom got home late one night from work.
The slowest build up to say that he stole money from his mom.
Yeah, and then the weirdest way to describe the whole scenario. Like, they do, and obviously they knew what they were doing with that, which is why it's so funny.
Yeah.
But just, I
it's
still
hilarious.
was in the back of my head going like, they're not gonna, right? Like, they're not gonna do that.
No.
Yeah,
But that's the thing. Like, you didn't think about it. The first time watching this movie, you're like, where is this going? Because it's not going to go there. But yeah, so he steals money from her. But
I really fucked her over.
yeah, you should call her Motherfucker Over Jones.
What confusion.
He sets up this scene for them to kill each other's bosses. They start doing some recon. They see that Kevin Spacey is deathly allergic to peanuts, and he actually saves his life. That was this part, right?
No, well, so first we go to Pellet's house where they get the cocaine on them.
Sorry.
So they go inside, they sneak inside there through his garage, and they find his house, which is like filled with all these like Chinese
sculptures
dragons and everything, and like this all
of
this
tigers and sculptures, like an Egyptian sculpture. Just if it's literally they say the mind of an asshole. It's so true.
Just imagine like everything that you wouldn't buy personally and put it in a home, and that's his place.
Yeah, it's like a museum of shit that no one wants if you're a normal person.
We have the Sudeikis rubbing his toothbrush on his asshole scene, and then Charlie and Jason Bateman get the cocaine all over themselves and just have that bit of they're just manically cleaning it up. Like, I think I'm the best cocaine cleaner of all time. Like, just keep pouring it through the colander.
The funny thing is, it's the most agreeable the whole movie that Jason Bateman's character is. He's like being nice to Dale. He's like,
It just mellowed him out more, honestly. Like, getting super coked up was just like, honestly, we're doing great. Yeah, this is amazing. Yeah, of course. But from there, we go to Kevin Spacey's house, and that's when Dale is sitting outside, kind of doing his own thing, like jamming out to "That's Not My Name, That's Not My Name," just going crazy, eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's when the near-death experience kind of comes in, and he actually ends up saving Harkin's life.
Yep.
Because he didn't know it was him.
They look out and they see that like he's stabbing him basically, and they're like, "What? He's killing him!" And they freak out. They realize that he saved him, and then it's like, "Why did you save him? We're literally trying to kill this guy."
I know.
Which is
so
like,
then when
that's like the thing that made me realize the most how crazy this story is, because like of course you would save someone's life. But then you realize, and this might sound dumb, I know, but that was the part where I was like, wow, yeah, they're actually trying to kill him. Like, they're trying to end his life.
like, no, they're
like they
really
were mad
invested
that he
in this.
saved him.
I know. They were just like, why would you do that? You asshole. Why wouldn't you just let him suffocate on the side, like having an allergy attack?
Yeah.
During that whole thing too, like they stole the crazy pellet guy's phone and then just drop it under the bed there. When we know Harkin is great for the whole movie, there's an ongoing bit of him being like a psychomaniac about his wife cheating on him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we see how that plays out in a little.
Yeah.
But his wife is Julie Bowen, who everybody knows now from Modern Family. Mm-hmm. She is incredible. But
yeah, very talented.
Yeah, comedically and just in general, very incredible. she comes up and she's like, "Oh my God, honey, thank you. This man saved you." And
What's he doing here?
right after almost dying, he just immediately goes, "You're sleeping with my wife."
Yeah. He's just like, get out of here. Like, dude, he saved your life.
Saved your life. That's how much of an asshole this guy
Yeah.
is. He just gets up and goes, "You're sleeping with my wife?" It's like, no, we just met. I just saved you.
Yeah. Does not.
But he
skip a
also
beat.
he also almost killed him. So I don't know if it's like I would be thanking him that much, because it was kind of his fault that the peanut butter was it's not like it was just on the street and he was just like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
I just
also, hey,
happened
if you
upon
have
him.
that much of a peanut issue, don't pick up plastic Ziploc bags on the side of the road. Chances are there was some peanuts in those.
Yeah, I mean, that's I have to agree with you there. Maybe
Dickhead.
don't pick up some
Kevin
random
Spacey,
litter on the
dickhead.
just step on it. Just step on it first and then see. Also, isn't it uncomfortable?
Hang on. Let's walk back here. Step
Yeah.
on it.
Well, step on it and then
What's that gonna help?
Well, step on it so that it doesn't blow away, and then maybe pick it up once you've assessed what it is. If you have this allergy.
Okay, so hit the corner.
Not like,
and see,
hit the
okay,
corner,
what's the
look and
remnants in
say
here?
exactly what's on it, address the situation as is needed,
I have
and
to
say,
admit, I wouldn't have thought of that.
maybe let's not pick that up. And also
fair.
running with a needle in your pocket, I know it's not open, but probably not the best. Probably not the most
I
comfortable
think it was like
thing.
strapped to his ankle. Like that's how
Oh,
allergic
really?
to peanuts this guy is. He needed to run with an EpiPen.
Well, that's a real thing too, which is,
Well, yeah.
crazy.
No, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I would
Yeah.
feel like that they would probably pull that corner trick. You're thinking with your head. That's what I like.
See, that's why Kevin Spacey, really shitty person,
Bad guy.
but he's got some acting under his belt, and you would think he would do a little
That's
more
true.
research into the peanut allergy for this role and assess the situation a little bit more.
Yeah.
Also the script.
Let's
We
step
won't
off
get too
this
deep
peanut
into
allergy.
it. Yeah,
That's just-
but basically from there they're kind of freaking out. It's just like, all right, they understand each of the weaknesses of all the bosses, and they're like, all right, we're gonna send each other off. Everybody has somebody else's boss. Let's go kill him.
Yeah, but well, actually, so they understand two of them.
Yeah.
Then, so Nick gets Pellet, and Dale gets Harkin, but then Jason Sudeikis' character has to get recon on Julia.
Yeah, he's got to go check. He's got to go spy on her, basically.
Yeah.
And just see the deal. That whole thing. I mean, number one, super obvious what he was doing. It's not like he was really hiding. He was just kind of parked
he's
across the
not good
street.
at doing
like,
that. Yeah.
no, like the worst, probably the worst I've ever seen of anybody like doing recon.
Yeah.
Even like when, Jason Bateman's parked across the street and everything, like Charlie Day is right outside the guy's house. Just literally blasting music. It's like, look, if you're supposed to be low key,
Yeah.
that just goes to show like they're supposed to be dumb, but they're really, really bad at what they're doing.
Not great.
No.
Just not great murderers. But
No.
so,
But
he ends up having sex with Julia.
well, she's
Jennifer
very
Aniston.
provocative
Yeah,
through the
she
window.
basically it entices him to do it, and both of the other two back out. So they reconvene, and they're like, I don't know if I could do it. They reconvene though because as they're scoping out, it's when Harkin actually finds their phone. Or I think it was Nick's phone.
Pellet's phone.
Pellet's phone. So obviously
Yeah.
Pellet's phone, because then he drives over to Pellet's house and just shoots him, which is insane.
He's like, "This your phone?" He's like, "Yeah." Just shoots him twice, shoots him in the head, and that was like fairly unexpected to just see.
I think
him
so.
die right right there.
Especially 2 bullets. That was unexpected. And,
Look,
but I think it
okay.
was on character for him.
I like where this movie went with this though, because to be honest, up to this point, I was not expecting murder
Right.
to be involved
Yeah.
whatsoever.
I thought it was
Like,
going to be some actually, I don't know what I thought it would be, but I would
I didn't
agree.
either. Yeah.
I just did not think there was going to be any murder.
I didn't think they were going to go there at all. I thought it was going to be like, well, we failed. This sucks. Let's do what we can, you know? Like, just find some other way about it. And then it just turns into like, oh, shit.
It is the point of the movie. The point of the movie is to kill their bosses.
And without even trying, they kind of got it done. They got one of them done.
Yeah. Of no effort of their own.
Yeah. Well, a little bit, but I do love I love that Jason Bateman is just speeding in a Prius away and just goes through
that picture is really funny. That traffic camera.
Yeah, that was so good. I love that when they're being interrogated, he's just like, I was drag racing in a Prius.
Don't win a lot.
But yeah, they meet back up at the bar, and it's basically like, oh, did you guys do what you were said? Oh no, I actually ended up sleeping with her. She was eating way too many dick-shaped foods.
Cold to hot.
Yeah, exactly. Like she kind of propositioned it. What do you mean proposition? Like she left the door open for him to literally walk in and go. But then they're like, oh shit, like what are we gonna do? He just got murdered. They get picked up by the cops right outside. The cops are like, come with us. Kind of have no grounds. They're like, follow us to the station. Jason Sudeikis pulls the "What's up, my man?" again, and then it just cuts to them in the back of the cop car, as if that was gonna work every time. Like, what? I don't know if that was written into the script or anything, but I'm sure it was because it has all these consequences every time.
Yeah, he's batting zeros.
Yeah. But how many times has this guy tried that before? That he's like, this is really effective.
That's not his first time. Yeah.
No, clearly not.
So they're in the police station though, and we kind of get a call back that Dale watches a lot of Law and Order. He pulls up
Bird Law.
Yeah, well, he's
Bird
not
Law.
with Uncle Jack, but
yeah,
he says Fourth Amendment. You didn't arrest us. We're free to go. And then the cops basically tell them that they're on to them. Like, don't try anything funny. And then that's
classic detectives.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Ron White. Shout out Ron White. And then the other guy, he is also fantastic, but I kind of forget his name right now. They go back to the bar. They get motherfucker Jones's advice, and then that's what they learned, that he never murdered anyone. He was doing 10 years for bootlegging movies, which as movie podcasters, we have to say is just as bad as murder.
They play the war. It's definitely not. But
definitely not. 10 years is a lot.
That's a lot of time for that.
The creators.
They play that warning before the movies, and you're like, haha, sure. And then there's like one case of somebody going to jail for 20 years for it.
You hear about it, and you're like,
yeah,
what? Really?
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Then you're afraid to take like little video. I mean, people did it for Endgame. They were just like this for the whole movie. They're like, oh my god, but it's fine.
Honestly, when you think about the budgets for these movies and the box office, and you realize that they're literally like each movie is like the size of a company basically.
Yeah.
And then you realize that people are filming it. It kind of puts it in perspective there.
Every movie is basically a startup.
Yeah.
Like every movie has, I mean, depending on the funding level you get, but this one was basically like a startup company.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like $50 million. Like, you have to not film that, but a little weird tangent. But we get his advice.
I love the commentary on bootlegs though. Like some of them have like the camera spinning around or like people just talking in the background.
Yeah.
It's really fucking funny. But we have like and we learned too that motherfucker Jones is probably the worst negotiator of all time. Like he immediately goes from like the height of his, like the top level of what he could ask for, just down to like the minuscule level of anything.
5,000 to like 100.
He's like, all right, 30,000. And they're like, no, we don't have that. And he's like, all right, 5,000. But there's probably some middle ground there. And they even call that out. There's like probably a little bit of wiggle room in there.
That I think is the best part of Jason Sudeikis and Charlie Day's characters, is when they're reacting to and like interacting with Jamie Foxx's character. Like they're so funny in those moments.
And then everybody finds out like Charlie Day's character peed on a playground at night with no kids there,
That
and
was a
is
running
now a
bit
registered,
throughout.
registered sex offender for that. Just, I mean, absurdity. But basically, they go and they meet up with him again, and they're like, what did we even see you for? So they go and they try to find more about Harkin, and they show up to his house and just waltz right in the front door.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
just
not
waltz
tough.
in.
Yeah.
And it's a surprise party for him, and he's not even there, but there's like 45 people there. And Julie Bowen, I mean, they walk in, they're like, oh, did we invite you? You saved his life. And it's like, oh, I work with your husband, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They go, and immediately you see, like, Jason Sudeikis is trying to get with her right from when he walked in.
She's a good-looking lady, and Jason
Yeah.
Sudeikis is a weak person. But also, I do want to point out, that has to raise an eyebrow when the guy who was just randomly in your neighborhood who saved his life is now just back with one of his best friends who happens to work for him. Like, what are you doing here? I didn't invite you.
Well, I do love that, like, number one, she had no clue who Nick was.
Right.
It's not like he's ever mentioned him at home or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I also love that they weave it in such a way that there's really no connection between the characters. So it's like, even if they interact, like Jason Sudeikis got with Jennifer Aniston, there's no connection there that they would ever
Just
think
random.
about.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh yeah, this is some guy sitting outside of my house. Like, they would never think back to one another. So that was a weird...
Yeah.
I love that it was even like, they walk in, it's like, oh, who are these people? Like, you're the guy who saved my husband's life.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
cool.
Casual. Yeah. So
Yeah. I guess
they're
if
in
that's-
there. Yeah. And obviously the Harkin comes in, gets mad because the surprises are just like legitimately angry. I know if the people don't like surprises, that's fine. But yeah, you have to be a dick to get like angry about it. It goes
A little bit
upstairs
intense.
and then they assume all three of them are there. So
I don't know how they don't notice, like, he's not there the whole time.
Yeah.
though. I guess it's a pretty intense situation,
I was gonna
but
say,
still.
yeah, that's fine with me. But so Nick and Dale are there. Kurt is having sex with Harkin's wife, and they get the
No, just a blowy.
Oh yeah, it's a blowjob. And Kurt is the one with the recording device that they were gonna set him up for, and then Harkin just tells him, yeah, he did it, and he's gonna kill them too. So they get spooked. They just leave as fast as they can. Harkin's after him. He hits them with his car. He ends up shooting himself in the leg because
Well, yeah, they're in this whole car chase, and then they got Gregory on the line again.
I was gonna say that we need to
and
mention
he's
that.
like,
Yeah.
he's just like, oh, this crazy guy hit us, like he murdered everybody. They're suspecting us of murder. He's like, oh, okay. The car shuts down. He's like, I have to shut down any car that's being like suspected of a crime.
Yeah, like the cops are after.
Yeah.
So
He's calling the cops, sends them, and then they just get T-boned by Harkin.
wrecked.
Just
Wrecked.
destroyed.
Yeah. So then Harkin's out there. He ends up telling him his plan. Yeah, I'm gonna get you arrested because you shot me. Then shoots himself in the leg. Throws
Psycho
the gun.
move.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Throws the gun
All-time
to
psycho
Dale,
move.
and then when the cops show up, obviously everything looks bad. But
Yeah.
our man Gregory ends up saving the day. Plays them the recording, and the cops are like, "Yeah, that's you."
Yeah, hey man, that's you. And then I love that they played the recording afterwards too, or right beforehand of like his wife on tape. And it's a day because he's like, oh, I have the recording device in my pocket. The cops play it, and it's everything up till the crash, and it's just his wife going like, oh, we shouldn't do this with everyone outside. And they're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah,
I
his
love
balls
that.
are smooth. He probably used Manscaped.
Use Manscaped.
Yep.
Yes,
Shout out Manscaped.
Kevin. Shout
There
out
we go.
Manscaped.
So Nick actually ends up punching him in the face. We get that nice little resolution. So we had Pellet got killed, so you don't have to worry about that. Then Harkin obviously gets arrested. Those two bosses are out, but we got to do something about Julia. So what do?
Final boss.
What?
Oh, I just said final boss.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Then we get Julia is Dale tells her like, all right, I'm finally gonna have sex with you. Starts starts filming this patient as she's pulling his pants down, do something super weird.
Yeah,
and then,
just like,
yeah, motherfucker Jones is our beautiful cameraman is filming it. So he blackmails her and is like, I'm taking a honeymoon. You're paying for it. Get out of my face. And then we get the resolution at the end. So that for him. And then at Pellet Chemicals.
Some nice bloopers.
Yeah. Well, before that, at Pellet Chemicals, Large Marge, the fat that was going to get trimmed, is the boss. And then Bateman gets promoted to president.
Well, Jason Sudeikis is just like, let me know if I can do anything like before the baby comes. And she goes, what baby? Like he's got his hand on her stomach.
She's like, I'm not pregnant. He's like, so I'm just touching you.
Yeah, that was the perfect sound. Just the
yeah, not good stuff.
Yeah. Great conclusion. Kind of doesn't necessarily set us up for a second one.
No,
the second one kind of jumps off on its own.
It kind
takes
of
us on a different loop.
A second one with Bateman's new boss, who has someone in the trunk for not getting him a coffee. So you would think that the sequel goes there, but it
doesn't at all. It doesn't even touch on that.
We'll talk about the sequel. We're going to talk favorites of this movie first, though, and then we'll talk sequel quick.
Okay,
so
let's do it.
Let me know your favorite character.
All right, it's got to be motherfucker Jones.
Yes,
I mean
that's easy. Number one.
Literally an Oscar winner. Just in the movie playing this one of the best characters. I mean, if you take anything away from this movie, it's probably motherfucker Jones.
Right. I would have to agree.
Yeah.
But I do think a close second, so I'll take my favorite. I'll do Bobby Pellet. So Colin Farrell in this movie is just hilarious. We get some hilarious lines from him, and they're all just coked up. He's like, I think I have one coming up for my lines. Should we go right to lines?
Let's go right to lines. Yeah.
So one of Colin Farrell's lines, he's saying that he thought that Kurt and his dad were gay. He's just being like, it's such like a 2000s crude kind of humor, being like, I thought you were gay, like some bro culture kind of thing. And then he's like, why would you think we were gay? He's like, yeah, dick on dick, not my bag. He's like describing how he thought they were gay, and he's just like so raspy. He's, yeah, dick on dick, like, ain't my bag.
It's like, I don't know if he knows how it works at all. He's just like, he just heard about that, like something
it's
one
like his
time.
Assumption. It's just his assumption of how gay people have sex.
Like a rumor one time 12 years ago that he heard, and he's like, I guess they just do that.
Yeah.
Like, dick on dick. Mine is actually from my favorite character, and it's Jamie Foxx. Like Charlie Day's just going off, and he just goes, shut this fucking hamster up.
Yeah. That's even funnier to like the way Charlie Day is in every other thing. You could say that about Charlie Day in pretty much anything, which makes that line funnier to me.
He just called me a hamster. What do you mean? This is like, I mean, it's hurtful, but slightly accurate.
My second one's going to come from Jen Aniston. By the way, if you need some extra protection, there are two movie podcasters that would love to be there when you meet Bert and Tom. Just letting you know. Throw that out there. Everyone tweet Jen, Bert, and Tom. Let us know that we want to be there.
For safety, of course.
For safety. I love the lines, and they're talking about this bit of him being a sex offender because he peed. He was at a bar and then went outside and peed, and it happened to be on a playground. And he said, well, it was at night. And then she says, that's even weirder. That little child must have been terrified. He's like, I didn't pee on a kid.
There's no one there.
It was a kid so alone at night that he peed
Literally
on.
Just like drops their ice cream cone like, who is this man?
Yeah.
My last one has Jamie Foxx in it again. It's Sudeikis and Jamie Foxx. And it's when they find out he like has no idea about murder, and Jason Sudeikis is like, we've been taking murder advice from a guy whose worst crime is recording an Ethan Hawke movie. And Jamie Foxx is just like, so you do know the movie.
I love all like the movie talk in here too. They're like, oh, it's a movie about so and so. Jamie Foxx is like, yeah, I know the fucking movie.
Yeah. They're like, Jason Sudeikis is like, I've never heard of it. I don't know what you're saying. So you do know the movie. I love that. You want to move into the sequel?
Yeah. Let's talk the sequel quick because I said I need to come back for it.
Let's do it. Let's hear your argument.
So,
let's see.
Well, setting the scene first.
Let's set it up.
I knew that people didn't really like this movie, but I was really surprised to learn that it got, I think, what was a horrible, a 47%.
Yeah,
on
something.
Rotten
I think
Tomatoes.
49, something around.
Yeah,
that.
and from the audience too. I don't care about the critic score. So obviously it wasn't really well liked, but we need to talk about where it went right, and then we can talk about where it went wrong because it went wrong. I do understand that.
Say it went wrong, yeah, but let's hear your side of the story first.
Yeah, not a perfect movie.
Okay.
What I think is that this story, and I think that when you talk comedy sequels, the most common gripe that a lot of people have is that they did the same thing. We're talking Hangover next week. Hangover 1, the reason people that we hated Hangover 2 is because it's the same exact movie.
Yes.
I think that they did something really interesting with the story that would make a really good standalone movie. But the problem is that it's a sequel. You have all the same characters, and it's a little stretch beyond the reality of the first movie. The first movie felt like it was grounded more in reality, but where this movie went wrong, I think, is that the characters got a little more like caricatured of themselves. Yeah. So like specifically Kurt, Jason Sudeikis' character, I think got a lot dumber, and it made it seem a little cornier. And then obviously they were just trying to, like, the stakes got higher, basically. There was more involved. And I think that's kind of where it went wrong. But
yeah,
you kept the cast, you kept that acting ability, and then you added another Oscar winner in Christoph Waltz and Christoph Waltz. And I said that weird for whatever reason.
Christoph Waltz.
Yeah. Chris, I think my voice caught. Chris Pine, obviously another great actor. And it added another element that this acting ability and the lines. It's absurd. This still, like, this relied more on bits than the first movie. But
1000%.
The bits were hilarious, and they were done so well because this cast is so good.
Okay, yeah, I will say, like, Christoph Waltz is incredible in anything he does. That man is a god at acting. Like, since Inglourious Bastards, just been heavy on the Christoph Waltz train. You could put him in anything, and I think he would excel. I think the one bit that he did really well, and the one of my favorite parts of that movie, where, you know, it was hit or miss here and there, all of that. I think that my favorite was the golf course scene, where they literally just show up at the golf course
with
they
balloons.
walk on with a cake and balloons.
Yeah, so this is my thing with this movie, and also I'll just say this: I think what actually went wrong and where people don't like this movie is I think the second act was pretty slow. So like when Chris Pine was kidnapped and it was just those three and him, I think it probably dragged on a little bit, and that's
a little bit
probably where it could have went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But like you were saying, the golf course scene there, it's a goofier movie. It's just goofier. But the problem is when you have a sequel, you kind of need to keep the same vibe. So I think if this was a standalone movie, it would be looked at as a good movie. But I think the problem is because it's a sequel, people compare it to the first one, and I don't think that it's necessarily that much worse. I don't think it's like the 70% to a 47% drop off. I think that's a little much.
I don't know, because I think that the first one was so much more grounded, and
there's no doubt.
Like, so much more grounded, and there was so much more that you could genuinely relate to, versus the second one kind of strips that away and more so continues off, like, makes them a little bit more or less believable, makes them a little bit stupider, makes the stakes so much higher, like, and, you know, has everything involved. So they basically took the groundwork from the first one and said, like, okay, let's basically make a caricature of this movie and just emphasize everything.
Yeah, and I think that makes it a little bit of a turn your mind off movie. I think but that's what I'm saying. That's where it's too different as a sequel.
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily like a horrible movie. I would say, like, it's decent in its own right, but when you put it up against the first one, like you were saying, it's not in the same league. So
no, but I think if you're talking strictly comedically, like in terms of laughs, in terms of bits, I think it is. But as a movie being compared to the original is where I think it went wrong. Like I'm telling you, if this was just on its own, this would be regarded as a very funny movie, I think. Because it wouldn't have the precedent to be a very grounded, very original, awesome story. But I do think the story was good.
I think it would be in a category like a little bit not like
a Hot Rod kind of movie. Honestly.
Yeah, like that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. Not like a more bit heavy, like very.
We talk about
funny,
these movies all the time. Like, turn your mind off and laugh.
Turn your mind off. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the ride. There may be some parts that you're like, nah, that maybe didn't need to be in there. Sure. But overall, like you're gonna laugh. Yeah. You know.
And so, the huge problem there, even if it is funny, even if it does do well with that, is when you have the first movie be something different. Yeah. I think it's just going to be looked at as worse. I don't necessarily think that's fair, but it is a sequel. So you have to put it that way. I just think that this gets unnecessary slack.
Well, I think the only reason, like we're saying, it gets slack is because it's the sequel. Like if it were its own movie, it'd be up there with like, you know, I'm looking at some similar movies now like that we might do down the road. I think it's in this category of like a, you know, Kicking and Screaming or like, you know, maybe a Blades of Glory. Like,
okay,
yeah, definitely like in that kind of realm.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a classic. Honestly, I think we can call Horrible Bosses a classic. And then the sequel, for whatever reason, is more of a turn your mind off, bit heavy movie. Yeah. I really enjoyed it though because I think I only watched it maybe once or twice before, and then I came back for this rewatch. And honestly, so I started late night, and I was like, oh, I'll just do it half and half. It kept me compelled enough. I watched the whole thing and just stayed up late. Like, and I normally don't do that. I really, really did enjoy this movie. I thought it was a fun watch. And I think if you go in with those expectations that it's going to be different, you're going to enjoy it and know that the second act does drag a little.
Yeah, and maybe it was because I watched them literally back to back. Like 2 minutes later, I started the second one.
Oh, a marathon.
Where it was like it was a little harsher. It was the same length as the fucking Snyder cut. So I'm like, what can I do? Watch 2 movies or literally watch slow motion superheroes for 4 hours?
I'm so over hearing about the Snyder cut.
I know, same here. But look, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna end up caving and watch it.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not going to.
I'm already mad that I know I'm going to.
So am I. I know that I'm upset with myself for dedicating that much time to it. Well, you know, what can you do? We're already in deep with it. But anything else you want to touch on the second, or is there?
I think I said my piece. I think that if people go in with a certain expectation that it's not the first one, even though it technically should be, it's a fun movie.
But okay, so what? I'll give it a 1 to 100 rating. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go like 63.
I would even say that's fair.
I'm gonna give the first one
I would
like
put it closer to 70.
I'm gonna give the first one like an 84.
Yeah. See, I would go
like around that.
I would go like 87 first one, and then I would put the second one at like a solid 70.
I think it's like 25% less for the second one. That's whatever that may be.
Fair. That's okay. Now that I think about it, you're probably right. But
I mean, well, there is no right. That's what we're here to dispel. There's no right. Your opinion is your opinion.
Opinions are opinions. Comedy is subjective.
Well, actually, it could be very wrong, your opinion, but we're here for it. We're
if
here
it doesn't
to
agree
hear
with
you
mine,
out.
then yeah.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Inexclusive Exclusives here. So
let's do it.
The first one. So we're going to do a few about the first one and then a few about the second one. Some might be more general, but this one is first specific. So
little sprinkle.
Horrible Bosses. Sprinkle this one on you. So Jennifer Aniston's character obviously was out there. She was a sex-driven, crazy person. And you wondered with this improv-heavy cast, well, how much did Jen Aniston actually do? The answer is not that much, because apparently these lines were just written so well when she read them. And her lines were hilarious. Like,
they were so good.
Unreal. And she read the script and she was like, there's no reason for me to improvise. Like, these lines are so funny. I just need to do this. But the one scene, it's when they're driving so fast away from Harkin, and Dale is telling her that he's going to have sex with her, basically. She's like, you need to talk dirty to me. And obviously, if you know Charlie Day at all, you know he's improvising everything. So they weren't even in the same room. They were in different rooms. Yeah. Jen's on the phone. Charlie's on the phone just saying ridiculous things to her, like, I'm going to jump it up and down on your boobies and shove my head in the crack of your butt. And she was just sitting there reacting to it. So I guess technically that's acting, you know, but she was improvising that, at least, just her reactions of what she was saying.
And that's one of the funniest scenes in the movie, that whole thing. And it's interesting how they filmed the whole thing, like, at different parts.
Right. Yeah.
It seems like such a fluid conversation. Yeah, it really
does.
Even with all of that going on.
Yeah, they're like literally in the back of the car, like going, God knows how fast.
Flopping around. And it's cool that, like, I love how they film in movies where it's like the steady car, and you kind of have to act like you're going crazy. Yeah, like, whoa, cowabunga. But I do love that, and I love how that.
We're stopping
you
this
surf
podcast
now. Sorry, you surf.
Yeah, but I never say cowabunga. What is this? Surf's up?
It's fucking rocket power, bro. Rocket power.
That's a good point.
It is. Love that. The kid with the backwards hat, the one thing. Yeah, he was the GOAT.
Come on. Yeah. You know that.
No, not Otto. That's not Otto.
The kid.
That's
Twister,
Twister,
the kid with the backwards
bro.
hat.
That's Twister.
Okay, yeah. All right, sorry.
Yeah, Twister the GOAT.
We mentioned before that John Francis Daley was a writer on this movie. And obviously, Sam from Freaks and Geeks, we always talk about Judd Apatow. And obviously, Paul Feig was the creator on that too. So John Francis Daley said that Judd Apatow and Paul Feig actually really inspired the writing of this. And he said that he really learned how to balance tragedy with comedy because Freaks and Geeks was tragic every episode. So the way that they dealt with that tragedy was what was funny. And obviously, there is a lot of tragedy and drama in this movie that is the basis of the comedy.
Yeah. And I think that they did that super well. I mean, coming from that experience of Freaks and Geeks, which we talked about a ton, how every episode literally could have been a standalone, like, so good, kind of went through the highs and lows of everything. I do think that they brought that into this. Yeah. And I love that they, like, took that reality aspect that he learned so long ago from being, like, he was a kid.
He was a kid,
you know?
Yeah.
And the
absolutely.
fact that he took that with him and internalized it is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, then wrote Spider-Man. By the way, every single time I hear about, like, or I read that, something like that about Freaks and Geeks, it makes me want to rewatch it, and we literally just rewatched it. So,
like, powered through it.
Oh, we
literally
we housed it to watch, to get that podcast in.
I think in, like, 5 days, I watched 18 episodes, which is a lot
alarming, because they're 45-minute episodes, too. By the way, check out a Freaks and Geeks episode if you like Freaks and Geeks. And
it was a good one. We loved it.
Yeah.
So John Francis Daley, again, you know, Freaks and Geeks, sticking with it. He was saying a little bit about what was improv and what wasn't. And one of the scenes that was improv, which I didn't really expect, was when they're all kind of in their cars about to head off and go perform the murders, or attempt to perform the murders, and you see kind of that overhead shot of all of their cars in the parking lot about to leave.
Yeah.
And they were thinking kind of like, you always want that shot where everybody goes in the right direction and kind of smoothly goes off.
So cool.
And what they did to improvise in that scene, I mean, one of the three guys came up with it, was that they were all going to go at each other and kind of go in each other's way and just get in and make it seem like a mess. Like, they can't even do that right.
Yeah.
They can't even pull out of the parking lot right.
Yeah, this is not like a James Bond or like a what is the Transporter or whatever. This is not one of those movies. This is these guys are really bad at murder. Yeah,
they're, I mean, astoundingly bad at murder.
Yeah.
And I like that because they were pretty, like, it seems like everybody on set was pretty involved in the movie itself, which you don't get a ton. Like, sometimes you get directors who are kind of more overarching, like, make the final decision. Maybe that's a higher budget movie. But it seems like on this one, because, I mean, with the talent we had in this movie, you're going to have some input from the actors.
Yeah, it speaks for itself. But yeah, shout out Seth Gordon.
Exactly. Love that. And it made the movie better overall. And one specific instance of this was Colin Farrell, he had a very heavy hand in actually what his character looked like.
Yeah.
So
Such a funny look.
all of the like the baldness, the prosthetic stomach, the love of Chinese dragons, everything that character was doing, and even like the setup of his home and everything, he had a huge hand in that. And he basically wanted to make him like the biggest asshole possible.
Yeah.
And on set, he was supposed to be like this coked out guy, just a coke fiend. So in real life, Colin Farrell on the side, the cocaine itself was made out of powdered lactose, and to stay in character, Colin Farrell would snort it in between scenes. So he's just inhaling this powdered lactose
all the
just
time.
stay in character. That's kind of that probably.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I think they used to use B12 a lot, or maybe they still do, but you can apparently like overdose on B12. And
Really?
not like not like overdose, but you could have problems.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
it was Jonah Hill. He had a problem on they had to stop production on The Wolf of Wall Street, I think, because he had too much B12 in his system because he was snorting so much of it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, just take the correct amount of vitamins. I know it's tough, especially with like Flintstones vitamins. It's like you
Tastes
want
good.
to eat 12 of those.
Everyone keep doing your vitamins. But
Yeah.
this
Stay
movie,
healthy.
the original one, they had some promotion going, and I actually think it was a really good way to do it. So Warner Brothers Canada set up a 12-foot voodoo doll that resembled a corporate boss in Montreal. So everyone got their frustrations out by like stabbing the doll, hitting it, writing what they hated about their boss, maybe like what they liked. And it was a good way for people to get out there and like think about their own experience and how they're going to kind of project themselves onto this movie.
Yeah.
And I bet that made some headlines back in the day.
Yeah, I can't see that really working today. I can't see that being like, let's just throw out a giant voodoo doll and have people stab it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It
it's
could be
Montreal.
cool today.
Everything happens,
It's just do whatever you want. But I think for promoting the movie and bringing people's real life emotions into it, and just saying like, hey, we have a movie about bad bosses. Like,
Feel like, oh, I hate my boss. Sick.
did you have a bad boss? Go stab the voodoo doll.
Yeah.
Like, go have fun and then buy a ticket. Like,
Yeah.
I would buy a ticket after that promotion. Like, I don't know if I would have.
Yeah, tell me the cast and then let me stab a doll. Cool.
Yeah,
sure. I'm
this
going.
seems like an experience and a half.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So another thing is that when they were going to look for that dangerous bar, and Gregory claims that there is an Applebee's 3 blocks away, because they asked for some shitheads. And then Sudeikis said, those aren't the shitheads we need. Yeah, Sudeikis is a spokesman for Applebee's now.
it's great.
Give him that bag,
They
though. Yeah,
just
he gets
swept
that
it right under the
Applebee's
rug.
money.
Oh, yeah. That's like Will Arnett with that Reese's money. He's just raking it in, that dude. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, that's those voiceover gigs. Like, if you get to that point.
Dude, give me a voiceover gig. That'd be
Seriously. I mean, but those two guys do have the voices for it. I will say, Sudeikis and Will Arnett, especially.
He is that.
Oh my God.
It's a classic voiceover, but if you know Will Arnett, you know Will Arnett. So it's almost like a little Easter egg. You're like, hang on, that's Arnett.
Yeah. Yeah, like, what do you mean?
It's like Norm Macdonald with KFC.
Yeah. Oh, that was amazing. I love these, like, when comedians get that, like, that big sponsorship gig, like that big opportunity to go. I mean, because ads get seen by so many people, which is crazy. And like, that's a huge thing. Yeah,
like,
to be like,
like right now, just because March Madness is on, I know that is it John Cena and Nicole Bear? They're doing a new Wipeout.
yeah, exactly.
Like, what? Why do I know that?
And then I love, like, there's commercials I forget what credit card, but it's like you see Kevin Hart. And then this Neil Brennan pops up next to him. And I'm like, holy shit, like, that's Neil Brennan.
Yeah.
Shut up, Neil. I don't know if that was common knowledge or not. I know there's probably a decent amount of people who don't know Neil Brennan. But for me, that the first time I saw it, I was like, holy shit.
Everyone should.
Neil Brennan.
Yeah.
I know. You should know him. It's hilarious. But one cool thing about, like, I mean, things I didn't know or people popping up random places. I took when it was on Netflix, and I don't know if it's still on Netflix, I think it is, I plowed through Cheers because I had heard so much. It's like a staple
Classic.
comedy sitcom classic. Honestly, like really good, gotta say. Very entertaining. Plowed through it. Was watching some interviews and everything, and it turns out that Jason Sudeikis' uncle is Norm from Cheers.
Yeah.
Which is, and then, so one of the things that he was talking about was when he was 9, I think it was, he went and visited the set of Cheers, and it's an all-star cast. So it's, his uncle, it's, Woody Harrelson, and then Ted Danson. They're all like, they had
Unreal.
this improv like blow dart thing, and they're blowing shit across the bar on the Cheers set, like to have a contest like darts, but with blow darts.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I wanted to do that. I wanted to be an actor from there.
That's so funny. It's funny how
really cool.
you get those with someone as good as he is, you assume that he's always wanted to do it, and I feel like that's why a lot of the time you get people from the family.
Yeah.
It's accessible and it seems like a realistic goal to just be a huge actor.
And that's like Jennifer Aniston's dad has been an actor, and then Jason Bateman has been acting since, I think, Little House on the Prairie he started. And there was like, he didn't graduate from high school. He like was literally acting his whole life.
That's insane.
So that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how Charlie Day started, but probably really, he's been on Sunny and writing Sunny for 19 years.
Yeah.
It's like,
shout out Sonny, man. But speaking of Sudeikis interviews, so this one is it's specific to the sequel. So he said that they wanted to put a gag in the movie where Motherfucker Jones, Jamie Foxx's character, would say to them, "You crackers gotta go. I have 3 other crackers coming in." And as they like get up to leave, you just see the 3 from The Hangover sit down. And they said that they decided against it because they thought it would just take them out of the movie. And then apparently Zach Galifianakis and Ed Helms heard about it, and they thought it would have been hilarious. Like they would have done it, but they decided it would have been too much.
Honestly, I don't know if it would have been too much with that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would have been fucking awesome. Yeah.
I think that probably would have. I think that would have sounded like a sign, or like to me, it would have looked like a sign that they knew that it wasn't that good of a movie, and they were just like, all right, whatever, just throw whatever in there.
I think that should have been the only association The Hangover had with a sequel. Yeah, like the only sentence The Hangover and a sequel should be in is that the cast appeared in Horrible Bosses, the sequel. Yep. I think that's how it should have stayed.
I would agree with you there.
I was gonna say, I think you should agree.
So Jen Aniston has had such a long career, but the crazy thing is, this was actually the first sequel she's ever done. Like, it obviously. Maybe people don't even think it's that good, but she probably turns down sequels because they normally aren't that good. Interesting,
but I think we just found out too, she's doing another one. We're the Millers 2 was confirmed.
Right. Yeah.
It's a working title, so Jason Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston are going to be coming at you again in We're the Millers 2, which I actually liked. We'll talk about that maybe down the road.
Oh, absolutely.
I think so. Greatly enjoyed that movie.
Yeah.
So those two, little toss in here. Those two, Jason Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston, unprompted, have starred in 4 movies together. So it was The Bounty Hunter, Horrible Bosses, We're the Millers, and Mother's Day. And then they starred in this sequel. And then they're going to star in the next sequel. So that's like 6 movies total under their belt, which is a wild amount to do with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a lot.
It does show, though, because their chemistry is really good.
Very good.
I gotta say,
they bounce well off each other. Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
They work really well together. And I think, like, I don't know. It just works.
Yeah,
it just works.
Yeah.
One little toss-in fact that we had from the sequel. We know, like, there's mixed opinions about the sequel, but. So in the scene when they're kind of going through, I know you said the second act's a little slow. I agree. But when they're going through the plan and everything, kind of plotting it out, in the background, there's a little, toss into Chris Pine's acting career. So there's something in the background that the Shower Buddy schematic that they had drawn on the board looks like the USS Enterprise, which is because Chris Pine starred in 3 Star Trek movies. So they were just throwing that little toss in the back, which is, I love when they do those little,
Easter
if you
eggs.
notice, you notice. If
Yeah.
you don't, you'll never know.
Oh, the Easter eggs are great. Yeah. Everyone has to keep in mind, like, there are a lot of people who be like, oh, it could just be a coincidence. Everything that's put on a movie set was a decision.
Yeah.
Like, every single thing is a decision. So, yeah.
Exactly.
That's
It's not like that guy in a t-shirt on the Game of Thrones set. Like, everything on a movie set is usually for a reason.
Yeah. Do you want to move on to our recommendation? We'll wrap up the pod.
Let's do it.
So
we'll do some quick recommendations.
you let us know about it, because
All right.
you
So
have actually watched it.
There's a comedian that I love, and it's Nate Bargatze. He had previously done The Tennessee Kid.
Yep.
He just came out with a new stand-up. It's on Netflix. I think it's The Greatest Average American.
Yes. Yeah.
And I gotta say, like, number one, he did it during COVID constraints. So it's outside. It's like one of the running bits is like there's he did it in LA outside. There's helicopters flying over the show constantly. Like, he's filming a special. There's helicopters going over his head, and he like pulls that in. I think if you like Nate Bargatze, I know there was a swarm of stand-ups that dropped specials, I think close to the start of COVID and everything like that. There's been a little bit of a slow up because nobody can film. But if you're looking for one, if you've been dying for some new, an hour special, I think this is definitely one. If you haven't seen The Tennessee Kid as well, I think you'll greatly enjoy that.
Yeah.
Also, Eric Andre just dropped his movie.
Yeah, so that's
on
something for
Netflix.
us to talk about. If people end up watching it and like it, let us know and we could talk about it. Maybe we could do like a little video on it. Obviously, it might not have a full podcast worth of content for us to talk about yet. But well, we could talk about that. And you were talking about that slowdown. It's funny because I feel like there have been proper hour-long specials that dropped, but not big ones, not like huge, mainstream name ones. Nate dropping his is really, it's like a nice sight for sore eyes, basically. Yeah. Because so Andrew Schultz had his, and it was like a 3-part, and if everyone's seen his, he calls them monologues. It wasn't an actual comedy special. It was hilarious, but it was basically what he did in 3 longer form ones. What he does is incredible with that, but there is something that's, if you're a stand-up fan, it's comforting seeing one of the huge people dropping an hour-long special. So I'm excited to watch that one for sure.
Oh, yeah. It's nice to see that popping up again a little bit. Whatever your viewpoint is here, I know we still have a long way to go, but like, it's the light at the end. We're seeing, like, for me, this new special dropping was just like, okay, it's a sign of the times. Like, we're adapting.
Well, yeah. Also, like, honestly, everyone keep in mind that, like, so I'm over in Orange County, California. Things are still pretty shut down, but I was looking, and there are like concerts that are coming back already in May, and I listen to a lot of stand-up comedians podcasts. A lot of stand-ups are touring, so check your area. I bet they're in the summer. They're going to be shows scheduled. Things. Hopefully, it's the light at the end of the tunnel, and this is a nice one. But apparently, everyone had masks on in the audience, so I bet the laughter is like a little weird and muffled.
It's probably muffled, But
it's a little. I heard 2 other comedians talking about him and his delivery and just how great he is, and they said like they would have needed the interaction. They would have needed to see the audience, see them laughing and everything. And they said that Nate is specifically someone that he could just do his entire set and it would be just as funny, even if people didn't laugh or there was no one there. I feel like that's going to be so weird because it's not even necessarily better or worse. It's just different. But like with all these car shows and everything and all these drive-in shows, there's just a difference in a comedian that can interact and have that intimate thing, and then some comedians are just able to do it wherever, whenever.
And you gotta adapt, you gotta go with the times, but it's so nice to see, like, even with the mask, the muffled, whatever, it's just amazing to see that, one step closer to that. And then there's gonna be, I don't know when, but there's gonna be a surplus again a wave of specials that drop. Because
Yes.
people are sitting on material right now.
Like, you know what the bad thing is?
What?
Not bad thing. I'm saying like there should be a surplus of good content that they have. Actually, the great thing is that I know that everyone's COVID stuff is already out. No one's gonna come back to a club and start doing COVID stuff. We're gonna have good content that came to people's brains for the last year.
Yeah, exactly. Love to see it.
Yeah,
I'm just excited for it.
yeah. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to talk about The Hangover next week. A heavy hitter, an absolute classic.
Only one of them.
The only one of them, yes. So please watch that for next week. Until then, I'm Kevin.
I'm Winnie.
And we'll see you at the next episode.
All right, 5,000.
There you go.